You're listening to the Social Selling Simplified podcast. Stick around if you too are obsessed with learning things that actually work and believe that success leaves clues. We're all about identifying results-producing roadmaps and getting super clear on how to scale and grow your online business. From part-timer to president, social selling expert Ashley Shaw will help you connect the dots and take the guesswork out of what works to grow a social selling empire. It's time to hear from social selling legends, listen in on truthful conversations, and learn the best tips and tricks to reduce the marketing overwhelm so you can build the social selling business of your dreams. If you're ready to go all in, no holding back, and build the business you've always wanted, you're in the right place. Here's your host, educator, social selling guru, and fitness industry OG, Ashley Shaw.
Welcome to Social Selling Simplified. I'm your host, Ashley Shaw, and I'm here today with Kelly Roach, who's a business strategist that transforms overworked entrepreneurs into seven-figure CEOs. And she does this by teaching them how to leverage timeless business principles employed by billion-dollar corporations with the speed and agility of the most powerful online marketing strategies of today. And as Kelly and I were just chatting a little bit before we hit record here, there are so many things that Kelly is an expert on. She's worked with multi-million-dollar companies. Her business is Kelly Roach Coaching, and it's the fastest growing coaching program on the market and the first of its kind. Her accountability-driven approach has been responsible for hundreds of clients finding financial freedom through entrepreneurship. And she's also the creator of the live launch method, which we're going to dive into today. It is a strategy where simplicity meets this strategic approach to making millions online through launches that consistently generate six-figure results. So exciting. So thank you so much for being here today, Kelly. I'm so appreciative of your time and you sharing some golden nuggets today with my listeners.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching and what you do now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started my business career working for a Fortune 500 firm and had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to create financial success. I wanted to work my way up quickly. And I, very quickly learned that understanding business, sales, and leadership were going to be the easiest ways to really develop the skill set needed to accomplish my goals. And, once I really recognized that, I quickly moved into sales leadership, coaching and teaching and training others how to make these massive leaps in their income and have sales success. Was promoted 7 times in 8 years. I ended up building a team of 100 people and managing 17 locations around the US. And literally those teams broke every record in the company's history for profitability, growth, expansion, internal promotion. And I loved it. I learned so much. But obviously as I got to the latter part of my 20s and was really looking forward to the future, I knew that I didn't want to be on buses, planes, and trains away from my family. I wanted to be able to have the flexibility to actually enjoy the financial freedom that I was creating. And so I decided to take these skills and go out on the open market and start teaching entrepreneurs how to elevate their brand, promote themselves effectively, sell with ease, understand profitability and leadership and how to build a winning team. And, from that, started off, me, myself, and I, back in 2012. And, now I'm very blessed to have a full-time team of over 30 people. We're an 8-figure company and growing every single day. And, we just are, privileged and thankful to have the opportunity to use the tools of the internet to take the principles from offline marketing and apply them to small businesses. And, it's just incredible what's possible, with the camera on our phones. And that's really what the live launch method is all about. It's helping people take their passion, monetize it effectively, and make these big leaps in their business without all of the complication and expense of traditional launch models that are typically taught.
I love that. So Can you tell us more about the method that you've created and set the foundation for us of how you teach this method and how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the biggest discoveries that I had when I became really passionate about sales was that effective sales for me was always really about just asking effective questions and listening. And I became, a really high ranked salesperson and a really effective sales teacher and trainer and coach by teaching people how to listen and ask effective questions. And, that is quite a different approach than most of what's taught in sales and most of what people's impression of selling is. And when I got into the online marketing world, I really didn't like a lot of the strategies and approaches that were being taught. I didn't feel like they were really high integrity, and I didn't feel like they were really as effective as they could be. And, I used every traditional launch method on the market. I invested in all the programs, all the courses. I worked with all the coaches, all the same thing probably that a lot of you guys listening did. And no matter what I did, I just couldn't effectively launch. I mean, I was spending more on the launches that I was making. And here I was coming from an award-winning sales career. And so I knew that I couldn't be that bad. I knew there was something else that was broken. And I really looked at what I felt were the reasons why those launch mechanisms weren't working for me. And a lot of it was in the way that these launches are taught. There's so many barriers between you and the audience. There's so many tech tools and there's so much going on. There's thousands of moving pieces. It's really difficult to manage. So very little of your energy is actually being channeled into serving and making a difference and actually conveying real information. I mean, I can't tell you how many webinars I've sat on that, I went into the webinar really liking and appreciating a certain influencer or teacher, and I left and I said, I will never, ever consume a piece of their content again because they just stole an hour of my life. And so I said, there's an opportunity here because I cannot be the only person that's having this experience. And so I feel like there was just this massive opportunity in the market to approach people in a way that is focused on teaching and serving and making a true difference for them and really earning their business by making an impact on their business and on their life before they ever pay you. And so I removed all those barriers that I felt were, the reasons why I was struggling so much with these other methodologies. I really focused on my gift, which was, just teaching and serving and really helping people to understand how to break through. And when I felt like I could actually focus my energy on delivering my message and doing it simply, I do my live launch. We do multi-million-dollar launches. I do them literally from my phone. Like I'm a low-tech girl. When I eliminated all those other things that were stealing my focus, my attention, my money, my energy, and I really created this methodology where you are delivering your launch live, you're focused on serving and teaching, it was like spontaneous combustion. All that work I had been doing for years that I was getting almost no results from, all of a sudden started pouring out from everywhere because people could hear me now. They could understand me. They could feel my energy. We were connecting in a real way.
I love that. So many things that you said resonate so much with me. I mean, I think that a lot of network marketers or anyone that is using social media for sales gets so caught in this, I have to overcome all the objections. Like when price comes up, it makes me nervous, but I know that that's what's holding me back. And it's like, wait a sec, like before we get on our jump to conclusion mat here, let's take a look at ourselves and the questions that we're asking, because if you know how to open, you never need to close. And that is all coming from asking the right questions to help that alignment of beliefs and help people really see what they actually want to accomplish, how important it is, all those things. So I love, love, love that you said that and made that very, very obvious. And I also really love this idea of thinking about it like, are you stealing away hours from someone's life, or are you actually adding? Because if you're not providing value and you're just in it to, try to sell something, it's sort of like that emotional bank account. You're not adding to anyone's life. Yeah. So I love that you made those things so obvious. Yeah. I love that. So there's so many questions I have. And I guess the first one would be about this idea of tech. And I love that you are low tech and it's all about how to get the best bang for your buck. So what are some of the things that you realized with tech that were not serving you, and how do you do it a little bit differently now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of the use of webinar platforms, it's a 50-50 chance that anytime you go to use one of these platforms, something's going to go wrong. And that's just one piece. And that was a huge piece, right? So that was big. But I mean, I think that in traditional launches, there's a lot of pre-recorded video content and a lot of heavy editing and a lot of heavy production value that goes into that. And, I remember one launch, I must have spent over 80 hours going back and forth with my team on the editing and the production of the slide decks. And the slide decks is a whole nother thing. I mean, my God, the hours of my life that I've lost building slide decks. And people don't want to look at a slide deck. They want to interact with a human being. Thinking through, it's kind of exactly what you just said earlier, Ashley, is like putting yourself in the customer's operating reality is like the best sales move you can ever make. Because if you think about it from the standpoint of, how would I like to experience this, and what would be most meaningful for me, and what would feel good for me, and how would I get the most value? And then you make your decisions that way in how you turn to the public and deliver to them, it becomes really simple and really easy. Right? People like to be able to interact. They like to be able to ask questions. They like to feel like they're talking to a real human. I can't tell you how many times, Madison, my daughter, has come in during my live launch into my office, and she'll plop right down and she'll sit on my lap and she'll be doing my hair in the middle of the launch. And I'm like, what? I want you guys to see this and understand that, like, I don't live in this glass office in a corporation. This is my home office. It is in my home. My daughter is here with me. Like, I can do this. You can do this too. No, I'm not perfect. You're not buying perfect. I want to be imperfectly perfect. And I want to model that for people so that they realize that no matter what their situation is, I guarantee they have distractions, or they have obstacles, or they have handicaps that could be an excuse or a reason why they can't. And I want people to realize that that doesn't need to take away from this. Like, you don't need to be that person. And most of the people that are teaching launches out there, they either don't have kids at all, and they're like living the surfer lifestyle, like, out there, like, doing their surfer videos and like standing in front of their like sports car. And it's like, wait, where's your car seat? Like, are you a real human, or are you just like a 25-year-old that woke up one day and said, I'm going to teach people how to build a business? And so I've really strived in everything that I've done, and I do strive for this in everything that I do, to just be a real human and to offer a way that people can do business that actually aligns with real life, because even if you don't have a family today, you probably will want to at some point. And do you want to build a business that relies on you living in a glass castle, or do you want to build a business that you can run and do from anywhere and have the flexibility and freedom to be imperfect and to still make millions of dollars doing it? And what I found with these pre-recorded videos is the time and the money and the energy that goes into that. You're so exhausted by the time you start that launch process that you can't possibly connect with people in a high vibration, energetic way that's meaningful for them or you, because you're just done. You're done before it even starts, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so I love this idea of, like you said, with webinars and using some of the platforms, whether it be Zoom or Webinar Jam, whatever platform that you use, there always can be issues. So what do you use now instead? How do you like to do your live launches?
Yeah, we just do our live launches in a Facebook group. It's super simple, super easy. And, of course, we are very aware that platforms change and that social media will change. I work very, very hard to build a platform neutral business where we can do business anywhere. And, but right now, Facebook is the one and only platform that has a well-developed community feature that allows for the collaboration, the community, community, the energetic container of groups. And I do think eventually that will evolve to Instagram and to other platforms as they develop further. But right now, that is absolutely the way to go as far as just, ease of use. It's where people are already spending their time. You don't have to worry about all the tech glitches. It just removes so much of the stress and strain, and it makes for a better user experience for the people that are going through and trying to learn from you and consume your content.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're setting up these style of events, do you set it up as an event, and then like when you're driving people there, you send them to the group, or you drive them to the event to get access to whatever you're presenting on?
Yeah. So when we first started, when we were doing things on a smaller scale, we would literally just drive them directly to the group. We didn't have opt-in pages. We didn't use email funnels. We did not use any tech whatsoever because I was just done. I was so done. I was like, I am not doing any of this anymore. Now, we've been doing live launches every 6 to 8 weeks for almost 3 years. It's scaled up. We can do it with our eyes closed. Now we send them to an opt-in page and then we redirect them to the Facebook group. Now we send emails and, do all of these extra things. But I always tell people, don't start that way. Like, just start so simple. Just drive your people to a Facebook group, serve the crap out of them, over deliver on promise, right? I always say in my very first session of live launch, like, you will get more value out of this workshop series than you got out of the last 3 things that you paid for. And I say that because, one, I want to set the tone and I want people to understand what my commitment is to them and how seriously we take that. And 2, it's for accountability for me and my team. And the accountability is that we have to hold ourselves to continually working to increase the value of every workshop that we deliver and serve people at an even higher level, and make sure that every person that goes through that workshop goes and tells someone, this was an incredible experience. This will change your life. You have to go through this, versus what my experience of going through many people's workshops have been, where I'm like, I will never attend an event of that person's again because they just spent 45 minutes telling me about their accolades and their successes and, whatever. And then there was like 10 minutes of content and then a 45-minute pitch. That's not service. That's not being of service. And I love to sell. I sell all day long. I got no beef with people selling. I teach people how to sell, but there's a right way to do it that's in integrity and is a win for them and a win for you. And then there's a wrong way,
Yeah, for sure. So now with what you've learned, there's obviously a way that you would start as a beginner, and there's a way that you level up and start to get more and more sophisticated in the way that you're, using opt-ins and using emails. So would your strategies still be to use, like, obviously you're still using a Facebook group, but do you send people to an event through, like, obviously the opt-in is going to help collect the emails. You're going to have your reminders and all that stuff built in, but do you still end up using, like, here's an event, show up for this, it's in the Facebook group, and you
Yeah, we very much promote it like a workshop series, and we teach people to use all different kinds of names. It can be a masterclass series, it can be a boot camp, it can be an intensive, right? There's all different ways that you can position it, but it's definitely a set event with a name. For us, we teach the live launch method. That is literally what our workshop series is. We teach hundreds and hundreds of clients inside of the Unstoppable Entrepreneur every single day how to design their own live launch. And we have people literally coming in and within 1 month of working with us doing over $300,000 launches. And I share that because it took me 7 years to get to the point where we're doing multi-million-dollar launches. It took me over 5 years of doing launches to do my first 6-figure launch. So when someone comes in and uses a live launch and does $300,000 in their first month, like, we're on to something, right? And I share with my clients all the time, I'm like, please do not start to think this is normal. I did launches where I was doing like $10,000 in sales for years. Like, I failed and I failed and I failed, but that was why I had so much drive to figure out a different way to go about this.
Yeah, I love it, because I think that in the social selling world, it's one dimensional. Like when I work with coaches, they tend to just focus on, well, if I send direct messages and this, hey girl hustle, that's going to get, like, I just got to send enough of those. And I love how when you think about actually doing a launch, this connection between, you're able to build urgency, you're able to build a ton of excitement. And it's really great because a lot of the product releases that social sellers are working with, they already naturally follow, like you're saying, an 8-week to 3-month time period. So it lines you up to do this no matter what your product is.
Yeah. And a couple of things about that. I mean, number one, the outbound messaging is great when it's used the right way, but it's the difference between closing one client at a time versus closing 100. And so that's really what you have to consider, right? We started off doing one-to-one messaging on LinkedIn, and that's how we started, and we would bring people into one-to-one consultations, right? And it's very similar to exactly what you're describing. It's slow, it's arduous, it's tiring, right? And it's not that it doesn't work. It absolutely works, but it's not the same as bring on 100 people at once for 10 days of work. Now, the other thing to think about is if you are someone that does social selling that uses outbound messaging as a part of your strategy, when you're doing your outbound messaging, if you're inviting people to a really high value event where you're really selling the what's in it for them in this free opportunity, and you have your messaging really dialed in there, you're going to get a far higher response rate and a far higher engagement rate than, hey, do you want to try my product? Hey, we have a new release coming out. Hey, can I send you some samples? Hey, can you put, right? It's like, instead of asking, you're giving, and that completely changes the dynamic of that relationship.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And so when you had described your initial launches, like if we're talking like a $10,000 launch, which is still,
then I lost money, by the way. I will share that very openly. When you earn $10,000 in a launch, you lost money, right? So let's be very clear about that.
Yeah. So when you look at that difference between how you started off and now what you're capable of and what you've learned in your launches, what are the top 3 lessons that have made the biggest impact on the bottom line for you in your launches?
Yes. Number 1, delivering your content live and really focusing on human connection. So our whole thing is like, when I'm coaching my team and we're preparing for launch, what I say to them is like, literally, you are here to create that like magical Disney experience for people. Everyone has gone so far and so deep into automation and using funnels and using messenger tools and bots and all of these things, that if you're the first experience that they have with the live launch method, where we are obsessed with leveraging your superpower, which is human connection, like people will just be blown away by you. So I would say number 1 and number 2, number 1 is delivering it live, right? Because then energetically you have the freedom to be present with your people, answer questions, go back and forth, like really be in it with them, right? Create an experience. And then number 2 is really leveraging human connection throughout the entire thing, from doing like pre-launch bonuses and warm-up activities with them to sending them a workbook that they can use throughout, and tagging them and inviting them, to pull through, and, doing visual recaps, human connection, that live interaction, right? And then the third thing is really like the formula piece of what we teach, which is we help people to create a breakthrough for free when they're going through our workshop. It's called the win. So wonder and all, instant breakthrough, and then we make a no-brainer offer. And the whole idea is, again, going back to that promise that someone should get more value in this free workshop than they got in the last 3 things that they paid for. Your goal is to help people. You bring them through this step-by-step series, and it's very formulaic what we teach, and we map this out very, very intentionally. Each layer builds on top of the next, and it pivots and transitions, and we teach all of that. But the bottom line is that you help people create a new result, take a new action, gain a new insight, do something that they've never done before, which helps them to instantly see, holy shit, this is different This is different. This is not the same old webinar. This is not the Hey Girl messaging. This is not, this product launch where I do 1,000 affiliates and I actually lose money on $1 million launch. Like, this is so different than anything anyone has experienced before. And we teach people how to understand how to create that in their own business, no matter what space they're in, right? Product, service, whatever it is. So those are really 3 of the big things that are super, super important to leverage this effectively.
Mm. And when you said the formula that you teach, I just want to make sure I have that clear on the 3. You said there's 3 things you guys do. Is that the order like that you teach?
No. So like the way that it works is there's 4 days of teaching. On the 4th day of teaching, it pivots into the invitation. And then there's 5 days of bonus sessions, client testimonials, all of these extra things where you're really extending the invitation over and over again, but you're bringing it all full circle and helping them to take that next step. So it's very much a cohesive workshop or intensive or boot camp or series or whatever the case, where you're layering these things together and you're utilizing this workbook, which I, always say is like $1 million asset for them. It's $1 million asset for you because you're using this workbook. And by the time they're done, they have pages and pages of notes of actual real instruction that you've given them, real breakthrough that they've created, real decisions that they've made. You're leading them through actually taking action. They're not a passive participant. They're an active one. And that's another huge, huge differentiator between this and, the other strategies that people may have learned or tried.
Oh, I love that. And so when you actually teach your live launch, then when does your webinar actually happen? If you're doing 4 days of teaching, and then this is the formula that you teach, right? Just to differentiate. So that's the formula you teach with 5 days of the bonuses, the testimonials, and that sort of thing. When you're actually running your webinar, do you follow that same method where you have like 4 days of teaching? And
yeah, I don't do webinars. I use the actual live launch method that I teach. I use that. That's how we do our launches. That's how we sell. Yeah.
Right. Okay, perfect. So what people would see when they see you in action, they're seeing you perform the same, method that you teach.
Yeah, that's actually like the biggest thing, right? Because the benefit that people are getting when they're going through the workshop is I'm teaching them how to do this while I'm showing them how to do this. They're not getting a theoretical lesson. They're getting a demonstrated model. And people will literally go through this workshop. I have people that are on round 6. I have people that will go through it every time they go to do a launch, and they use it as prep for themselves to get like a retraining on what to do and how to position things and how to model and all of that. And even clients of my own, every time I'm like, guys, get off of here. I'm like, you're supposed to be launching. And they're like, no, this helps us sell more. My own clients will go back through our live launch just to prep for their own launches because it helps them so much with modeling the way.
Gotcha. Okay. I love that. So obviously you have your Facebook group that you're working in when you're doing this. And then how long would you say are each of your lessons throughout the 4 days?
Yeah. So I have 2 different companies that I live launch in, Give Her Courage and then The Unstoppable Entrepreneur, which is my coaching company. In Give Her Courage, our lessons are typically about 20 minutes. In the coaching company, they're typically about 45. So I always say, like, you want to make it applicable and relevant to your market and what makes sense depending on the space that you're in.
Okay. Love it. And then at the end of your lessons, is it embedded in that there's a call to action each day? Or
yes. So there's homework each day, and there's like, we do giveaways and prizes and engagement bonuses and all of that. And really the call to action for sessions 1 through 4 or 1 through 3 is really show up the next day so you can keep layering on the content. Then obviously once you get to day 4, you're transitioning into the invitation to your offer. And that's where, the call to action is going to be just over and over again for them to either book a consultation or head over the sales page.
Love it. And how long is your cart usually open? Is it a
5 days?
5 days?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And does it officially open on, which day does it open on?
The 4th day.
The 4th day. Okay. And that's where then you're able to layer in the bonuses,
Yes.
the testimonials, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
okay. Wow. That's awesome. Let me just see here. I've just been like, there's so many teachables in this, obviously, like just taking a ton of notes on what you're teaching. It's awesome. What is the most common question that you get asked about the live launch method that is really important for people to like fully get it?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. The most important thing that I get asked hundreds and hundreds of times is, do you deliver the same launch over and over again? And will people show up, and will your audience get pissed off? And this is a really important question because it's one of the reasons why entrepreneurs burn out and don't make any money. Because every time they do a launch, they completely redesign their offer, redesign their sales page, redesign their email sequences, redesign their content, which I'm exhausted even just saying it. Like that just exhausted me. The thing about live launch is you deliver the same launch every 6 to 8 weeks for years. We've been delivering the same launch for 2.5 years now, and our sales keep going up and up and up and up and up with every launch that we do. And what's so interesting is that's actually what has created like a global reputation for us. We actually have people from around the world coming to our group and putting in the comments, I'm here for the live launch. Like they'll come at random times when we're not even open for live launch because people are speaking about the live launch and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn this. I want to be a part of this. So that is the biggest thing. And that in and of itself is like a multi-million-dollar breakthrough for anyone listening, because if you can have the discipline to stick with what you're doing and work on improving it versus starting over, complete game changer. It will totally change your life. Totally change your life.
Yeah, that is such great advice. And then do you guys do a waiting list in between?
No, we don't. We do a lot of stuff in the group for like engagement, like a lot of value add stuff in between and stuff like that. But we don't really do a waiting list. People do know that we cycle though. So people will just be like asking like, when's the next one? And we'll say, don't worry, like, but our social sellers like stay in touch with people in between launch. And that's one of the reasons why like we make so many sales in every launch from people that actually came from the last one. And that's another really important piece of this, because you don't need to generate totally new leads every time you go to launch. You're carrying people over from launch to launch, and many people are going to buy that way.
I love that. I think, again, it's like that starting over thing, like having the same group and just keeping them warm. And it just makes so much sense to not like reinvent the wheel every time. Like that's where you're like people burning out, and that whole idea, like that same method totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other question I have is, when do you find, like, what is your biggest day when you use the live launch method? Sometimes like it's the day the cart closes. Sometimes it's when it opens. Like, what do you guys find in your research?
Yeah, it's always the last 48 hours. Always.
48 hours.
Always the last 48 hours. Our last launch, we did about $2 million in sales, and 750,000 of that was on the final day. It was insane. And so I do a lot of coaching and a lot of training with my clients on managing your state in launch, because a lot of people fail because they think their launch didn't work. Because they're sitting there on day 3 of open cart. They're like, I have 3 sales. I'm like, no. Be excited you have 3 sales. You're about to get 25 more, right? Yeah. So, understanding that is really important too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how many emails would you guys send on the last day?
I think typically we send 3 on the last day. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't close people from email though. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We close people that participate in the videos.
That are live. Yeah. Yeah. Love it. So many great takeaways. Wow. That was just jam-packed with such great information. So, Kelly, where is the best place for people to follow you and to learn more about your coaching and the live launch method?
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you just want to like hang out, see what the brand is all about, be a part of what we're doing, get in touch with me. Definitely Kelly Roach Official on Instagram is a cool place to come hang. If you want to sign up for the next live launch workshop, you can go to the Tribe of Unstoppables right on Facebook. Super easy. just put in the comments, I'm here for the next workshop, and one of the concierges on my team will get in touch with you and, tune into the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Show.
I love it. And yes, your podcast, the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Show. And so one other thing is that I wanted to mention is this is one of the top 50 marketing podcasts. So guys, make sure that you check it out. We'll put all the links in our show notes. Kelly, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It was a great conversation, and I appreciate you allowing me to share. I hope some people will benefit from it.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're ready to turn your Beachbody dream into a Beachbody business, I have something special for you. Business Boot Camp for Fitness Coaches will help you overcome the overwhelm of never knowing what to post so you can show up consistently on social, get off the icky hey girl hamster wheel, and finally see more engagement from customers who enthusiastically slide into your DMs to join you. This Facebook group is totally free to join. Head to ashleyshaw.ca/bootcamp to sign up now. And just for joining, you'll get 5 totally templated social media posts that work, accountability and camaraderie in our private Facebook group, and that post-workout feeling of accomplishment. See you there. Again, you can head to ashleyshaw.ca/bootcamp to sign up now.